And if you did not hear, recording is in progress. If you would, for the viewers, in other words, our participants, you should probably change your screens to speaker view and side by side so that you can see everything. You need to keep your screen, which is your picture, on throughout the entire program. That is for the attorneys. The paralegals do not. To receive credit for the attorneys that are actually on and not on the phone, you will see 3 polling questions throughout. You need to answer all 3. For the persons that are on the phone only, please make sure that you know when Jess Jones, who is our presenter, which I will introduce her in a few minutes, starts the section that is the docket entry search process. So you'll need to designate that time and just write it down on your CLE form in order to get credit. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that part of it before I go to the rest of the instructions? Good. Hearing none. Please make sure you are muted unless you have a question. We would suggest that you put the questions in the chat box because Jess will answer them at the end if she has time. Make sure, and I know you guys all have heard this before, but make sure your questions are general in just general questions, not specific about a particular case or client. That would not be advisable. At the end of the program, Jess will answer questions if she can and has time. So you also need to make sure that you send those CLE forms back in the next couple of days. Sending them weeks from now may mean you don't get credit. We are required to post them as soon as possible. And we do actually post them within 48 hours, 48 hours of work time. So with that, I am going to give you a brief introduction of Jess. And I want you to all, again, switch yours to speaker view so that you can see Jess and mute yourselves. Jessica Jones is currently one of the 3 deputy court administrators for the 43rd Judicial District. She began her career several years ago as a law clerk for President Judge Worthington. She went into private practice for several years, but was invited to come back to Monroe County as the senior law clerk. At this time, she is, like I said, a deputy court administrator and working closely with John and the rest of the group to make sure that not only do the courts run smoothly, but that we are communicated with to ensure that you know what is happening within the courts. For those of you that do not know, Jess is also Nicholas VI handler. That is the court facility dog. For those of you that have not met him, if you ever get into the courthouse when it's open and Jess is there, please do so. You're going to fall in love with him. You should also know that Jess graduated from Center College in Kentucky, and in her spare time, she loves the Poconos and she gets out with Nikki a lot. And luckily, even during the pandemic, she has come to visit us because the foundation sponsors her and pays for all of her food. So staff gets to see him more than you guys do. Might not be nice for you, but it's very nice for us. And he's like he's our special buddy. I have to share him now with my staff. But anyway, with that, Jess, I'm going to turn it over to you and hopefully your screen sharing is working.
Okay, I'm going to test that right now. Perfect. Let me just find what I need to share. Okay, can everyone see, hopefully, the Prothonotari's website? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. That's good. All right, so we're going to get started. I just need to move this over here. Okay, so just a brief overview. Like Denise said, my name is Jess. I'm going to be going over the public access portion of CTrack. If you are in any way involved with the courts, if you're a conciliator, a master, and you have internal access to CTrack, some of this might be familiar, but it's going to be pretty different from what we see internally. So just keep that in mind. Anyone can access this public access portal. It is through the PROT's website. So here I just have up the Prothonotari's website, and there are directions on how to navigate to CTrack the public portal in your materials, but just to show you, you would come over to this prothonotary home menu and click on CTrack Civil Search Index Access. And then you'll be brought to this page. You'll have to click on the CTrack disclaimer and terms of use, and you'll be brought to this disclaimer. I'm not going to read this verbatim. You should certainly read it because you'll see at the bottom, by using the system, you acknowledge that you've read, understand, and accept the above disclaimer. The gist of this disclaimer is that the prothonotary and Monroe County make no representations as to the accuracy of the information and assume no legal responsibilities for same. So yes, you are accessing the docket, but I'm sure there was a similar disclaimer for use on the old system, which was Infocon. If you had paid for access to that, you know, yes, it's an electronic system, but it still uses people to put things into it. And so sometimes there might be something that's off. So this disclaimer just says, you know, we make no representations as to the accuracy of the information. If you need something certified, you need to make sure that this is definitely part of the docket, it is accurate and all of that. You'll have to contact the prothonotary's office to get a certified copy of anything. What you pull off of the public access portal is just for non-certified use, essentially. All that to mean if you take action based on what you see on the public access docket and it turns out that the docket you viewed was inaccurate, prothonotary Monroe County assumes no responsibility for any resulting damages. And by using the system, you agree to the disclaimer. So you just have to click continue as public user, and then you'll be brought to this page. This is simply a page that highlights the different types of searches that you can do in the system. You are not yet in the search system. This here is actually a link, and that is what you'll have to click to access CTrack. So you can click this and it'll open a new page as you see. So if you need to go back and check and see, okay, do I need to do a case search, a docket entry search, any of these searches, and we'll go through these during the course of the hour. Excuse me. You'll have this tab still open on the top of your screen here. So when you click this link here, it will open up this page. This is the CTrack public access portal. This is the same disclaimer that we just went over before, so I'm not going to go over it again. And you'll just have to, again, click continue as public user. Now, if you don't want to go through all of those clicks every time you have to access CTrack, what I would suggest is from this page, save this as one of your favorites. However you would do that in your browser. I know for Chrome, I want to say you can click here and drag it down to your menu bar or your favorites bar up here. So however you would do that in whatever web browser you're using, the next time you want to come back to CTrack, I'll show you, we'll close out of this page. I'm going to open a new one. This is the link that I just saved. Click that and you're already here. So it'll bring you right back into CTrack public access without having to click through all of that again. So that's the first part of the materials. Actually, that's the only part of the materials. And then there's the URL at the very bottom for, you know, you can copy and paste that URL, plug it into your web browser, and it'll bring you right here. So I'm working on two screens here. So if you see me looking over here, that's where my notes are. And again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. I'll try to look at them as I go. And I do think that there'll be time at the end for questions. So no worries about that. Okay. Now that we're in CTrack, I want to bring your attention to some of the quick links over here. This will take you to the Monroe County Court of Common Pleas homepage. This will take you to exactly what it says, local rules, administrative orders, things of that nature. This link will take you to the UJS homepage, which is the state court system, the Unified Judicial System homepage. This will take you to the Bar Association's homepage. We've got Pennsylvania Code and the Pennsylvania Bulletin. And then this will take you back to the Prothonotari's homepage. One thing that you don't see here that you will see in the coming weeks is a link for what will likely be a PDF. I don't know if it's going to take you to another web page and then you'll have access to the PDF, or if we'll just have the PDF right here, but it will be a user guide that is specific to Monroe County. The Prothonotary and Thomson Reuters are currently working on getting that edited and prepared for publication on this webpage. So keep an eye out for that. Oh, apparently I was being funny when I wrote my notes here earlier. I said coming attractions, a user guide, but you won't need it after this class, right? So you're going to know everything that you need to know by the end of the hour, hopefully. Okay, so over here, these are all different links that you can click into. And each one of these is going to take you to a search page, depending on what you want to search. I'm going to go through each of these types of searches and show you different tips and tricks for finding whatever it is that you need to find. The first one we're going to start with is an assessment search, but before I, well, here, we'll just click into this. A lot of these search pages are going to look very similar. The title up here will tell you exactly what it is that you've clicked into and what you should be searching for. Every one of these pages will have a case number that you can plug, if you know your case number, plug it in here. The only thing that you need to be careful of is this particular search criteria is very picky. You have to have, so, okay, for example, if we want to search the case 1978 civil 2003, I'm going to type that in here. Now I know this case exists. When we hit search, it's going to say no records were found. Now, why is that? And you might have already run into this if you've tried to navigate through the public access portal and you know your case number. But if you type it in like this, or even if you were to type it in with the spaces, you're going to get the same result. No records were found. That's because the case numbers in CTrack are really picky and have to be typed in really specifically when it is the type of search that this is, which is called a begins with search, as opposed to a contains search. If this were running a contains search, you would get all cases from the year 2003 that had these 4 numbers in the last 4 digits of this first number, if that makes sense. And it might in just a second. All the case numbers that come out of CTrack in Monroe County, this first number is technically 6 digits. And so when you're searching for a case number in this system, you have to fill in any digits that aren't used with a 0. So with this case number, because there's 4 numbers here, we have to fill in the other 2. So we just have to put a 00 in front of the case number. I wish that were the only picky thing about these case numbers. Unfortunately, it's not. In between the first number and civil and the second number, you have to put dashes instead of spaces. So with a number like this, when you click search, here's what you're going to get. Now, because we're running an assessment search, you're going to get all the assessments in relation to this particular case. That's one way to do it if you're looking for assessments in a specific case number. There's another way to search for assessments. If you have a date, but not a case number, you can also search that way. And this is true for most of the searches in the public access portal. So we're going to do an assessment date of March 17th. And because I ran some of these searches before, just so that I know what I was showing you, I want to make sure I'm running the right thing. Okay, so if we were to run on or after March 17th, 2021, and click search, that's going to bring up a number of different case numbers. Now, with any of these case numbers, when you're looking up, let's say by date, you can click into the case number. And a lot of times what I like to do is right click and open link in new tab, because that way, oh, I need this to go away. Oh, I have a question. An assessment search, sure. So the question was, can I define an assessment search? And yes, if I can get to this other tab. Oops. There we go. So here we have opened up what's called the case view of this case that we pulled up by right-clicking and opening a new tab, so that we still have our search return here. Now from this page, you can go click through these tabs here. So we've got parties. These are parties to the case. It'll give you this information if it's entered into the system. You can see docket entries on the case. And so here's another thing to keep an eye out for. I know that there's got to be records on this case, right? It's a 2003 case. There's assessments. There has to be some sort of docket. If you find this and it is an older case, so because this one's from 2003, Thomson Reuters is in the process of migrating all of our older archived docket entries and documents. If you get to docket entries and no records are found and it's an older case, it's probably because they haven't been migrated over to our public access quite yet. That time frame is probably within the next month or two. We will be up to date and all of our documents will be brought over. There are literally millions of documents to be brought over from InfoCon, which is why it's taking a bit of time. And we started the process when we went live. So it's the same for anyone working inside the court in our CTrack system here as well. We don't have access to those documents. We have to go back to InfoCon. So if there's something that you're looking for on an older case, I would just call the Prothonotary's office and have them email you what it is that you're looking for until, if there's something that you need immediately, I'm sure they'll be happy to help you with that. So that I wanted to bring that to your attention. That's why the documentaries say no records are found. Again, hearings, if there's a hearing coming up that's scheduled in CTrack, you'll see it here. And then assessments. So assessments are money was owed by a party and it's coming from another party. And then there'll be a status of whether it's past due, paid, not quite due yet, things of that nature. That's what an assessment is. So someone owes money to something in this case. Now, this is probably more relevant to support cases. There will be quite a number of these in support cases because anytime a support orders entered, there'll be an assessment against any given party, whoever is paying the support. So that's what these are here. So if that's what you're searching for, an assessment, you can find it here. So we'll come back to our search page in the chat. Is it correct that support case docket entries will not be visible to the public or attorneys? There will be certain types of cases, yes, that are not visible to the public. Even docket entries won't be visible to the public. I want to say that yes, support is one of them, and I do apologize for not knowing that right off the top of my head, but let's just check this one out. Yep, you are right. So because this is an older case than the 2003, so in support cases, which is this one that we had open, Gibson versus Gibson, because it's a support case, not even docket entries are going to be visible. So I do apologize for that. There are, the document migration issue is still an issue, and you might not be able to have access to documents because of that. But because this is a support case, you won't even have access to what the docket entries are called. So if you need access to something from a support case, you'll have to contact the Pathonetary's office. As we can see in this other case, and I hope that you can see this one. When you come into the docket entries, here are all the docket entries, but there's no, I'll just click on the complaint. There, you can't click into this at all. It won't do anything, and that's because the document's not there. Any other questions on assessment searches? Okay. There was one on this case. Oh, it must have been corrected. Oh, no. Okay. So here, I'm glad they didn't correct it yet. Here we have one. You'll see assessment date. This is what we're talking about with the accuracy. Sometimes, numbers are punched in wrong, and it happens. This is an old case. It's probably closed, or it says case status active, but there hasn't been any activity on here, it looks like, since 2019. So here we have an active status assessment, but you'll see over here that the assessment date is 2090. Without having dug into this case, I doubt that that's the actual assessment date. So this might actually be a past due assessment. So that's another thing you have to watch for, and why we're not certifying the accuracy. It says active here, but this person might actually have a past due amount of this 132.50. And again, I don't know either way. I'm just kind of guessing based on the age of the case. If you come across something like this, you can certainly call the Proth's office and question it. They may be able to correct the inaccuracy, or get you a certified copy of whatever order is connected to this amount. And that'll tell you when the actual due date is. Okay, we're done with assessment searches. I think that this next one will probably be more relevant to most people. So if you're in a search screen like this, to go back to all those different choices, you would click this home button here. There's also this search dropdown, which you can click any of the available searches to you. But if you want to see these icons and get the descriptions for each type of search, you can come back to the homepage. Calendar search is next. And when you're searching the calendar, what you're searching are called sessions. If anyone's familiar with CMS, which is our criminal docketing system and case management system, we have what are called buckets in that system. It's the same thing in CTrack with sessions. A session is a time scheduled for any particular judge, quasi-judicial officer, conciliator, master, whoever the case may be. It's a time set aside in the calendar that says this judge is available from 9 a.m. until noon on this day for this type of proceeding. Example would be if Judge Zulik is going to have oral arguments on a number of different cases. Brenda, judicial assistant, would put a session for oral arguments or hearings or however she's going to label it in the calendar for that particular day from 9 to noon. And then within that session, separate hearings get scheduled. The hearings are case-based. So when you're doing this calendar search here, you're not searching for a hearing. That's a different type of search. What you're searching here are sessions. Another example will be if you have a license suspension appeal in front of Judge Steve Higgins, and you know that I think it's every third Thursday of the month, Judge Higgins has license suspension appeals, and there's a morning session and an afternoon session. But maybe you're not sure if your case is scheduled for one of those. So if you're just trying to see on the next scheduled date for license suspension appeals whether or not you have a case that's on that list, you can come here and search for that session. And this is how you would do that. So you can either type in a calendar date on or after, calendar date on or before, or the calendar name. But unless you call the judicial assistant and say, hey, what do you name these sessions in CTrack? This particular search box is really not going to be very helpful. Each judicial assistant can name them something different. Sometimes they'll name them hearing, sometimes they'll name them conference. It just depends on what it is and how many different types of things that they're trying to put in any particular session. So I would stick with the dates. That's going to be the most helpful. So let's pick, I think it's the 17th. So you can enter dates one of two ways. You can type out the date in here, or you can click this little calendar and select your date. We're going to say on or after June 17th and click search. Now there's a lot of things going on or after June 17th, but you can sort this list based on any of these tabs at the top. So if we're definitely looking for something in front of Judge Stephen Higgins, we can sort by judicial assignment and then find Judge Higgins. Okay, he's only got a couple of things here. Oh, here's the license suspension appeals for June 17th. So this is the session that we were looking for. In order to open up this session, you click on the date, and now you're looking at hearings, all the hearings that are scheduled within that session. So when you come here, you can look for a name, or a case number. You can also sort these. So if you sort by case number, it'll do it numerically for you. You can also do it numerically in the other direction. Same for case titles, alphabetically, and in the other direction. Opening up a session, all the hearing date's going to be the same, so that's not going to be helpful to sort it that way. The The only other thing to pay attention to here is the hearing status. CTrack will pull up all of the hearings that are in our internal calendar in this session, and that can include hearings that have been continued. So I don't know if there's one on here, but let's check because there's 2 pages here. No, all of these are currently scheduled, so they haven't had any that have been continued. But if one has been continued, you'll see it here, and it'll just say continued instead of scheduled, and you'll know that it's not actually scheduled for the hearing date that you're looking at. So coming back to here, say this is your case, this first one here. Again, right click, open a new tab, and you can pull up that case to check out what's going on in here. You can pull up the docket entries. When you come to the hearings tab, you'll see that June 17th hearing that we were just looking at in the calendar. The hearing type, license suspension appeal, and again, in front of Judge Stephen Higgins. There's a judgments tab, assessments, receipts, warrants we don't use because Thomson Reuters is also able to do criminal systems and other jurisdictions. Obviously, we have our CMS. So anything that is criminal related, there just won't be any information there for us. So just to touch on this while we're in this case on docket entries, this is what I'm talking about if there is a document for you to view. If you'll remember from the 1997 case we were looking at, there was no docket or there was no document icon here. That means that that document hasn't been migrated over yet. But on cases like license suspension appeals, you will be able to see the docket entries and you will be able to see the document. So in order to view that, you would just click on this little document icon and this pop-up screen will appear, and then you'll click view and it'll pull up another tab and download the PDF for you. When you're looking at PDFs, you'll notice up here that there is a red, we call it a watermark. That is when it was accepted into the CTrack system for filing. You will probably notice a couple minute discrepancy between the physical stamp and this stamp, because when the PROT takes it in and puts this through, puts the physical paper through their machine, it'll give you this date. And then they'll immediately scan it into the system and it'll say the time that they've done that. When we move to e-filing, which is down the road a bit, it'll have, just like in CPCMS, it'll have a submitted date and a filed date up here, and they should be fairly close in time. But those are things that we'll go over when we are doing the e-filing. You will also notice that there is also a watermark across here, copying prohibited. I have had some questions about these watermarks. They are on all of the documents that you'll pull off of the public access. If you need a document to attach to another filing and you need to pull it off the docket, at least for now and for the foreseeable future, you'll have to call the PROT's office and they can email you a copy that does not have this copying prohibited watermark on it. The reason that we have these on here is because it's not just attorneys who have access to this public access portal. It's anyone. So the watermark is staying. I have not heard anything different, and it's not up to me. So the information that I have is that the watermark is staying. And if you need a copy of something that's on the docket that does not have this watermark on it, you can call the PROT's office and they can email you. It's a fairly simple process to email you from our internal system this same document without that watermark. Okay, so we come back here and you can just close this out. That'll be the same for any one of these here. I'm hoping this one. Yes. Okay. So you'll see that I clicked on an order that was done by Judge Higgins. I clicked on the document icon, and you'll see here that there are 2 documents for you to view on that particular docket entry. That's because one is the order that the judge signed, and we can view that, and you'll see that it is probably a scheduling order. But then the other is what's called a 236 notice, which is, if you're familiar with the prothonotari's affidavit of service that they used to check mark who the document had been given to, this is taking the place of that. So that's all that second document is. I have a question here. Will attorneys eventually have a paid access where we can obtain the timestamp documents without the watermark? That is a really good question. I imagine that there will be, well, I don't want to make any promises because I'm not sure. We are just in the very beginning stages of e-filing configuration. And that is something that we'll need to explore when we have e-filing capabilities. So for example, if you are an attorney that is attached to a case, might you be able to pull up those documents in that case without that watermark on it? As it stands right now, I'm not sure. And I'm sorry that that's not a very satisfactory answer at all. But it is certainly something that we can explore as we're talking with Thomson Reuters about e-filing. But I just don't, it's too early in the e-filing process for me to be able to answer that question. Okay, so let's go back to our calendar search here. And I think that's all for the calendar search. We've talked about the sessions, and this is where you'll see the hearings. So you can close out of this. And again, very similar, you can organize, along any of these. So if you wanted to see them, the ones that are coming up, you can do that. It also it doesn't just show judges schedules, but you can also see here that it'll show conciliation conference schedules, and the conciliator's name will be under quasi-judicial officer. What else will it pull up for you? All these PFA calendar items are in CTrack, so you'll see all of that here. These are our daily PFA ex parte hearings. This is our Monday PFA court. So again, you can search by a day if you're looking to do your calendar for the following week. You're not quite sure if you have something going on, you can search for that date here and it'll pull it up for you. You can also filter by these checkboxes over here. You can search by quasi-judicial officer. It'll give you all of them that are for that particular conciliator or master. And again, you can search by or filter by judge. Calendar type and courtroom probably aren't, I know calendar type's not going to be very helpful right now at all. Courtroom will become more helpful as we kind of shift back into more in-person things, whenever that may be. but it'll also, I mean, we're trying to schedule things that if it's via video conferencing, it reflects that in CTrack. So you can certainly search by that. The courtrooms will be based on judicial assignment typically, so you can search that if you want to, but it's just going to be easier if you search by quasi-judicial officer or judge. Okay, back to home. So that was the calendar search. You'll see over here a hearing search. This is where you would be searching individual hearings as opposed to sessions. Again, very similar to the calendar search, but instead you'll have a case number available up here. So if you know your case number, you can plug that in up here. Keeping in mind, you have to have 6 digits, a dash, CV, dash, year in 4 digits. Okay, we're going to move to case search, as long as there's no questions. Not seeing any. Okay. So case search, again, you'll have to type in that case number very specifically. I have an example here. And I just hit enter after I was done typing. That'll give you the search. And this is the case. You'll see that you can search filters over here. If you were to search, for example, this name as opposed to a case number. So let's X out of that and we'll type in that last name. And again, it'll give you anything with that last name in it. The case title search is not as picky as case number. So if you have a last name, you can certainly search by that. It can be a lot easier to do that. And then you can pick whichever case it is that you're looking for. So we're going to open this up. And again, the same view, parties, docket entries. You can get to the documents. And this advanced search will just give you a couple more options here. This is where you could start with, or excuse me, you could do the contains search here as opposed to starts with and type in 35 CV 2017. Oops. This is the problem that creates. Because you're doing a contains, again, it's going to give you any case in this year that has a 3 and a 5 in these number places. So you'll see that's a lot of cases. So it helps to be able to narrow it down with either the zeros in front or a last name. If you know when the case was filed or roundabouts when it was filed, you can do an on or after date, things of that nature. And again, if you click that advanced button in any of these different search areas, you'll get similar pop-ups here where you can narrow your case search. But sometimes either very specific is better or a broader search is better if you're not entirely sure what you're looking for. And that's the same for if you were, doing a Westlaw search or a Lexis search. It just depends on what it is that you're looking for. And it's pretty easy to tailor these things. Sometimes you just have to play around with them. But there's certainly all these options for you. And if you do get a lot of returns like this, you can filter with your checkboxes here. Okay. For the docket entry search, I had an example of a date-based search for this. Nope. All right, so let's say we'll do today's date on or after. click search, you can see everything that's been filed today. From the docket entry search, what is different about this is that it will give you the option to pull up the document as well. So yeah, you could click into this case, but if you know that this is the document that you're looking for, come to the docket entry search, plug in the day, and then you can get to the document from here. Again, you can filter things. If you click on this blue case number link, open in a new tab, it'll take you to the case view for that case, and you can get to all of the docket entries or see if there's a hearing scheduled, all of the things that we've been going through previously. So if you have a particular filing that you're looking for, docket entry search would be the best way to find that. Okay. Document search can be helpful if you need an example motion. So let's say you're looking for a motion that objects to something. In the document name, but you don't have a case number, you're just looking in general for this type of document. So in the document name, it's pretty safe for you to assume that the document name will have motion or petition in it, because if anything comes into the Pratt's office that says it's a motion or a petition, motion/petition is in the docket entry name. So you can, that's kind of my tip or trick, is that this will narrow down your search, because if you don't put motion in here, you're going to pull up motions, petitions, orders, anything that might have objection in the body of the document. So then in the text box, you'll type in whatever, use a word that is going to get you specific results. Again, this will kind of harken back to a Boolean search at either Westlaw or Lexis. And you have to kind of use those skills to narrow down your search. So if you search for a motion, objection, this is what you'll get. You'll notice here that the type, all of these say motion, petition. That's why I said put in motion or petition, either one will work. And then the subtype will also have motion or petition in the title. Then if you come over here, this is what's different about this search. This is actually searching the text of the documents that are filed. So that's why I said this is really good if you want to use it to find an example of something that you want to file in your case. You can come here for a document search and find something that maybe this little clip might seem like it's pretty close to what it is that you're looking for. I don't think that was on my end. Can everyone still hear me? So that's this one. Again, always can filter, and there's the advanced button here. This one will just let you change, either starts with, exact match, contains. The rest of these types of searches, we do have, for example, a judgment search. This is going to operate very similar to an assessment search. If you have a particular case number that you're looking for, you can type it in here. If you just know that a judgment was filed on or after or on or before a certain date, you can search it through these dates. The advanced, if you have parties for judgment for, judgment against, you can try searching that in here. I would use probably a contains. There's also a phonetic option here. If you're not quite sure how to spell the last name, you can try searching it with this. I have not tried that, so I'm not sure how well that works. Let's see. I think that might have been the exact match, but yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think that that's probably going to work very well. No one from Thomson Reuters has mentioned this. So I am only familiar with contains or start with or exact match. So I would stick to one of those. Okay. I'm just going to make sure I get everything in. For a party search, you can search a full name, a partial name, or a case number. You can search by a birth date if you don't have a name, or an alias. Again, you can change these options here. I had an example of last name Smith, first name Joe. And it'll give you Joe, it'll give you Joel, Joe Bear. Oh no, I'm sorry, there's a Joel. Joey. So that's what it starts with that. It won't, the first three letters, if they're Smith with the first three letters, if this is the first name, then this is what you'll get. You can filter. You can narrow. Some of the different narrowing filters we have here are party type. So if you know that you're looking for a defendant named Joe Smith, you can check that and it'll filter these cases for you. And if you know that you're looking for a pro se person, you can filter that as well. I put on here that this search can be good if you are being hired kind of mid-case and the potential client that comes into your office isn't really sure where their case status is. They don't have a case number for you, but you have the person's name. You can come in here, and if you know that they're a defendant or a plaintiff, and if you've already had some things going on in the case, you can filter by pro se. You can filter by pro se Joe Smiths and try to find the case that way, so that you can see, what's going on in the case. Oh, I have a question. Is this entire system up and running as of now? Yes, everything that I'm doing here now, you will be able to do on your computer at home. I'm not able to see anything in this public access that you guys wouldn't be able to see. So that's why I wanted to share my screen and kind of walk everyone through this, because if you were to do the exact same things that I'm doing, this is what you will see in the public access portal. The only things right now, again, that aren't available are some of the documents. Again, we're still migrating those over, and the certain cases that are just not available in public access. Support, PFA. Custody, the docket entry, you can view what the docket entry name is, but I don't think that you can view the documents. It might be certain documents in custody cases, but I know they were kind of encompassed with that as well. Had a comment that this is some small print. So this is just a browser function. If you hold your control button down and scroll up with your mouse, you can zoom in on the text here and it will get bigger for you. I do agree, it is small. So try using that trick and so that you can see these cases a bit better. How frequently is the system updated? So it's updated simultaneously. If something's filed and it appears in our CTrack system in the court, it should be appearing on public access, assuming that public access has access to that particular document or filing. Same with the calendaring. It should be simultaneous. If if you're looking for something and you know it should be there, you know, something should be scheduled, a filing should be on there, and it's not, I'd encourage you to call the PROT's office. There might be, for example, something that's holding it up in our part of the system that's not letting it go to the public access. That can certainly happen, you know, technology being what it is. But normal run of the mill, no problems, it should be pretty simultaneous. The last search I have here is a receipt search. This is a very specific search. Again, you'll either need a case number or a receipt number. You can try searching by receipt date or payor. But again, you'll have to have pretty case specific information. This is good to check whether payments into escrow, for example, have been posted. You know, if for whatever reason you don't have the receipt for that posting, you can find it here. And you wouldn't have to have the receipt number, you would have the case number, or you would know, okay, I paid it on this date, you can plug in the date. The last bundle here we have is a warrant search. Again, we don't use this because this is for civil cases only. So you won't find any information in there, and we don't have any information in CTrack on warrants. That's all in CMS. Can I explain again how to make the print larger and more rare? Sure. Let's go to one of these. So here we are on a case view page. I'm holding down the control button on my keyboard, CTRL, holding that down, and I'm scrolling up with my mouse. I have a little scroll here, and I'm scrolling up, and it makes the print larger. I have another question here. Waiting for an arbitration panel decision. Does not appear yet how arbitration decisions get filed. Arbitration decisions are filed through the PROT's office. If it isn't appearing yet, it could be that the PROT hasn't been able to get through their distribute tasks. That's something that is specific to the in-house version of CTrack that we use. Basically, it's when the PROT accepts it for filing. So if a paper has been emailed to the PROT's office or physically taken up there for a filing, they do have a process of getting it onto the docket. Once that document makes it onto our internal docket, it should be available on public access. Attorney McDonald, if you want to email me specifically, I can certainly try and track down that particular filing. Without a case number or specifics, I wouldn't be able to assist. But I wouldn't want to get into that on this call. This is really more general information, but I am happy to help you if you're looking for a filing that's not appearing in the public access realm. And I'm going to put my email in the message here. All right, and that's all I have. So are there any other questions before we sign off? Sorry, I kind of took us right up to 1 o'clock.
That's okay. If there's no questions, thank you, Jess. As a reminder, and I'm going to launch that final poll, you need to either email info@Monroe Bar or fax your CLE form to 570-424-8234. And the sooner you do, the better. And as a reminder, we have a ton of CLEs coming up, so keep watching your emails. you can pretty much get all of your credits for the year without even leaving your office again. Thank you very much. I'm not seeing that there's any other questions. So we are going to end.
Thanks, everyone.
Denise, can you put that question back up? It just flashed on my screen and disappeared. John DeWitt.
I don't know what question. Oh, you mean it should still be there. I didn't turn it off.
That happened for me too, Denise. It
Not there.
I can answer.
Well, that's interesting.
It's
I
gone.
will relaunch polling question. Wait a minute. There you go. Yeah, now you're seeing it. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. If anyone has any questions about navigating this, you can certainly email me or call.
All right. Thank you very much, Jess.
Take care.